Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick. My name is Glenn Williams, and I am a member of our Board of Trustees. Today is a special day. I am very pleased to announce that our new interim minister, Reverend Justine Sullivan, is joining us for her first UUCB virtual service. Justine entered professional ministry after working for 20 years as a social worker and psychotherapist, and before that as a technical writer and manager at Digital Equipment Corporation. Ordained in 2017 by her home congregation of Northborough, Massachusetts, Justine served our UU faith for several years before entering seminary as a leader in her own congregation and also as a congregational consultant and facilitator across New England and beyond. She was the interim minister in Essex, Massachusetts, 2017-2018, and has just finished a 2-year interim ministry in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Justine is delighted to return home to New England, and she has experienced a very warm welcome from everyone she's met here at UUCB and in the surrounding area. She and her wife Dale and their dog Callie will share time in both Massachusetts and Maine. And you'll get a chance to meet Dale and maybe Callie in coffee hour after this morning's worship, so be sure to tune in for that. This morning, Justine will begin introducing herself to us, and over the next few weeks, we'll talk about what we can expect in this interim time as we work together to continue the vital mission of UUCB and find our next settled minister. It is an exciting time, and it's good to have Justine here with us. She cannot wait to get to know us all. We hope you enjoy the service.
Materializing by Jean M. Olson. In what form did the Spirit appear to you today? The blossom of a flower? The tug of a child's hand? The silent twinkling stars? An old woman smiling at the bus stop? A lover's gentle hug? A presence so close to your soul you could almost touch it? Words of truth formed unbidden in your mind? The holy disguised in so many ways. May your senses open wide in recognition.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, cause is no caravan of despair. Cause is no caravan
Whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
A reading by Elizabeth Lerner McClay, Carried Up to Bed. Wouldn't we all wish to be carried up to bed one more time? So dependent, so confident, and so cared for in that particular way for all the right reasons. We are not ill, not hurt, not helpless. We are simply small and tender and tired. How long have parents carried their children to bed while children enjoy that passive bliss? There we lie half asleep already in a car or on a sofa after a late night. We could be roused, but our eyes are closed. We are less asleep than we look, more asleep than we feel. Our parent comes to fetch us up to bed and slides a strong, quiet arm under our shoulders and neck, another under our knees, and hoists us up to be carried to our room, to our waiting sheets. We sleepily turn toward them, maybe hike an arm loosely over their shoulder and around their neck, and hang on tight. We feel them walking down the hall or stepping up the stairs, then nudging open the door, walking across the floor of the dark, familiar space. We know where we are without opening our eyes. We feel them pause by the bed to get a firmer grip, and then lean over and lay us down, adjusting the sheets to tuck us in. Would that I had known that last time for what it was. Now it is my task to do the tender carry, the kiss and caress before leaving the room. That is precious too. But children know the date-stamped preciousness of being carried up to bed for what it is and nestle into its warmth. Years will pass and we will still feel small and tender and tired, and this gift will likewise have passed, gone to others, to our own and others' children. And we will each of us have then only the memory and the charge to carry on the tradition, the sweet burden, the carrying of another. Good morning. This is the time in our service when I would be inviting all the children to come down in front, and maybe you would sit on the stairs, or maybe you would sit around me. I'm sitting in the rocking chair. You might recognize it. But you're probably wondering, who is this stranger sitting up here where Reverend Sylvia usually sits? My name is Reverend Justine Sullivan, and I am going to be serving as your interim minister, which means that I'll be here for 2 years. And you can call me Rev Justine or you can call me Justine if you like. I imagine that your parents will mostly call me Justine, and I think that'll be just fine. I believe you called Sylvia by her first name, so I'm good with that too. The last place that I served had a lot of military people in it, Virginia Beach, Virginia, and some of them called me Rev. And I kind of liked that because I never had a nickname growing up, and so Rev was kind of a nickname. So I'm fine with all of that. You figure out what feels best to you, and that'll be okay with me. And I really want to learn your names and your nicknames and how you like to be called. So hoping that we will find a way, you and I, to connect so that we can really come to know each other. But I do want to say that, this whole thing is kind of strange, right? I mean, this COVID where we can't be together in person right now and everything is online. So put that together with a stranger sitting in the chair. I would understand if you were feeling kind of perplexed. I hope I won't be a stranger for very long. But for right now, I understand that you're trying to figure out, what to make of all this. And that is just fine. I would be surprised if it didn't feel kind of uncomfortable at times. That's how change is, right? It makes us uncomfortable. Now I'm sitting here in your beautiful sanctuary, which is kind of a new building, right? Because of the fire. So you all have already been through a lot of changes, and that will help you get through this interim time of uncertainty. But for you kids, I bet for most of you, Sylvia is the only minister you've ever known. So this adjustment may be a little bit trickier for you, and that is completely understandable. As I was thinking about all of you and about what I would say to you when I met you for the first time, I started thinking about first grade. When I was in first grade, my teacher was named Mrs. Clemens, and she was a wonderful teacher. She was warm and kind and funny and smart, and she taught me how to read. And reading, being able to read my own books, was life-changing for me. And I bet it has been life-changing for some of you too, if you can remember when you learned to read, because the world opens up to you when you can read the stories that are interesting to you. So for me, learning to read will be forever linked with Mrs. Clemens. And it's been over 50 years, but I can remember her face and I can remember her kindness. And I bet that you will remember Sylvia for many, many years to come. And I'm pretty sure of that in part because I listened to that beautiful song that you sang for her as part of her goodbye. Many of you recorded yourself singing the song Let It Be with new words, and I love that song. I have watched that service many, many times. I think it's my favorite, especially that song. I love the words. I love the way you sang it, and most especially, I love that you sang it for Sylvia. And I'm sure that she's watched it many times too, and that it is a gift. That is one of the gifts, right, of this COVID time, that everything's recorded so we can go back and watch and listen and be reminded of things. Because when we're missing someone, it's nice to have something to hold on to remind us. I'm sitting here with a blanket that members of the religious education community of my last church made for me. It's full of pictures of kids and teachers and adventures that we had together. I can't show it to you too closely because I don't really have permission to show their pictures on the screen. But trust me, it is full of their pictures. And it's very snuggly and warm. So on a cold, rainy day, or if I'm feeling a little bit sad, I can pull it close to me and be reminded of the time I spent in Virginia Beach. So maybe you have something that reminds you of Sylvia, or reminds you of friends that you're missing, or reminds you of UUCB. And I know that UUCB is kind of like a nickname, right? I know that it's your initials, so it's technically not a nickname, but it serves that purpose, right? Because Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick is a lot to say. UUCB is easier. And the church that I came to from before, came here from before, is called Coastal Virginia Unitarian Universalists. That is a lot to say, right? Coastal Virginia Unitarian Universalists. So they call themselves Seaview, which is kind of a play on words. So I think that's kind of cool because it's their initials, right? C, the letter C, V, U, U. But it's pronounced Seaview, suggesting that they have an ocean view from their property, which in fact they do not. But they are in the community of Virginia Beach, which of course is near the ocean. So they can kind of finagle it and claim that sea view. But it's memorable. So I liked that about them right off. They also had just moved into a new building when I started there. So newer than this one, but still pretty new. I know this one, you've been here for, about 10 years now, 9 years. So we have that in common, and you all have been through some big changes already, going through the fire and building a new church and getting used to that. So you know how to go through change, and that will help you in this interim time, which can be a little bit unsettling. But I am here. I am glad to be here. We will walk through this together. We will work through this together, and we will find all kinds of ways to be together. Some in person when it's safe, and someday returning to this beautiful building and worshiping together. But for now, we have this connection across the miles, across the internet, and I hope that you will tune in and join me for this Time for All Ages, this story time. In the future, I might read from a book, but today I thought the important thing was to let you get to know me a bit, tell you a little bit about myself, to tell you the story of Mrs. Clemens and where I came from. I grew up in a town called Scituate, Massachusetts, which is also on the water. So I am happiest when I can be near the ocean. So it's great to be here for all kinds of reasons, including that. I am looking forward to getting to know you, looking forward to serving as your interim minister for the next 2 years. And we will, I'm sure, have some wonderful experiences and adventures together. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you again soon.
Sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter
So, here we are. It's kind of strange, me being here and you being out there, all of us using our imaginations to transport us to a time of worship. Now, the first sermon of a new church year, especially in a new church setting, is always a little tricky. What is the good word that you, most of whom I haven't yet met, need to hear? And how many times have we all said some version of under normal circumstances, or maybe before COVID we would? I did some of that with the children, reminding them that this would be the time that I would invite them up to share a story with me. Usually, I have some idea of what I want to talk about with the kids, and then one child will ask a pointed question or offer an observation that takes us in a whole different direction than what I had intended. I love that. Sometimes it makes some of the adults a little uneasy. How is she going to bring this to a close, they wonder. Truth be told, I love the excitement of not knowing exactly how the kids and I will land that plane. But we always do. And we will figure it out, the kids and their parents and teachers and I, how we will connect with each other. And you and I will figure that out too. You adult members and friends of and visitors to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, UUCB. Now, some of you here in the greater Brunswick area, is that a thing? I just decided it's a thing. The greater Brunswick area, and those of you further away. I know that talking over the computer screen can make us feel like we're a million miles away. But it also allows us to connect across the miles. It's not perfect, but it's something, and I am grateful for it. This email church, as my friend's 90-year-old mother calls it. Email church. The congregation of the larger fellowship, a Unitarian Universalist congregation that has always been a church without walls, has been meeting exclusively online for many years, actually started out as a newsletter for UUs in far-flung areas where there was no brick and mortar church community. People would connect through the written word across the miles, building and sustaining community without being in each other's physical presence, except at General Assembly, that annual gathering of Unitarian Universalists from all across the United States and around the globe, coming together to do the business of our association and gathering for worship and shared learning. And I can tell you, when the members of the congregation of the larger fellowship, CLF, come together in person, there is much rejoicing. That worship service at General Assembly is among my favorites because of the joy they feel at being able to be in each other's physical presence, a rare treat for them. And I can well imagine that when you all, and now that includes me, when we all can finally be together in person, what a joyful day that will be. Your board and I have been and will be talking about how and when we will know that it is safe to return to in-person activities at UUCB. But for now, I intend to make the most of the resources we have and to connect in all the ways we can. And I invite you to join me in finding lots of different ways to get to know each other and do the important work that UUCB is called to do. As Judd said in his beautiful service a few weeks ago, we all have a calling to share our gifts in service of something larger than ourselves, this community of UUCB and beyond, our Unitarian Universalist faith, future generations, and the larger world all need your voice and your gifts. But I was talking about the challenge of offering the first sermon of a new church year with a new congregation. Some of that challenge is COVID related. I've always been pretty skilled at reading a room, noticing if people are with me, and if not, I can slow down or speed up or explain something in a different way. Offering a sermon not as a lecture, but as a conversation. But in this two-dimensional COVID world, there is no immediate feedback. No body language or facial expressions to read, and no laughs. Oh, how I miss the occasional chuckle at a quip or observation I might make, or the shared laugh when the chalice won't stay lit, or the minister forgets to call for the offering or name the hymn. Those shared moments of things going a bit awry, and the trust that is built by getting things back on course. That is such a loss for me. And I'm sure Sylvia experienced that too, and I've heard it from many other colleagues, the loss of that immediacy and connection that comes from shared experience in real time. I used to enjoy watching Stephen Colbert on The Late Show, A Late Show. He is very funny, but sometimes it is painful to watch. He'll offer a joke or a quip and then silence. The poor guy, he knows in his brain that there's no audience to laugh with him. And yet, he still seems to be waiting for it. And I imagine he experiences the silence as rejection every time. A reminder of what we have lost, and a reminder that some things, many things, are better when they are experienced in community. Now, Dale, my partner of almost 34 years and legally wedded spouse of 16 years, we were legally married in our UU church in Massachusetts in 2004. Dale says that I am too tender-hearted for some things. For example, baseball, watching baseball. No matter which team I start out rooting for, if the other team starts losing badly, I start to feel bad for them, and I start to hope that they'll get at least a few runs to make it respectable. That's what has led Dale to say that I am too tender-hearted for baseball, and perhaps I am also too tender-hearted for stand-up comedy in this COVID time. So now you know a bit more about me. I am a bit of a softie. COVID makes this engaging with people, especially those you don't already know, harder. But one of the great surprises and gifts of this COVID time has been witnessing the lengths to which people will go in order to gather. In my last church, one older woman just could not figure out how to get onto Zoom, which was the platform we used for worship there. Now, every Sunday morning, she calls a friend who moved away to Florida, but she calls her, the friend logs into worship every Sunday, and she holds the phone up to the screen so that this woman can hear the service. So great is her longing for community. And you all have done an amazing job of using technology to create beautiful, spirit-filled worship. I have been enjoying watching the services that you have created. So I'm beginning to feel like I know some of you quite well, those of you who have shared your stories, sacred moments from your lives with your beloved fellow UUCB members and friends. Strengths abound in this congregation, and I am so honored to have been chosen to serve you and to serve with you. The other thing, though, that's tricky about crafting this first service of my time with you is that, understandably, you all want to know something about me. Who is this person who has come to be our interim minister? What makes her think she can be helpful to us? But we ministers, and before I was a minister, I was a social worker and a therapist, and this is especially true for therapists, we are unaccustomed to talking about ourselves. It's not about me, it's about you. But here's the thing. We are going to be working closely together, you and I, in all the ways that we might understand the word work. Working to keep the church running, working with your leadership, working with your next ministerial search team to support them as they work to find your next settled minister. Sharing in the work that so many of you do to help make the world kinder, more generous, more just, more beautiful, more loving. All the things that you do and will be doing at UUCB, I want to join. I want to join you. I want to be a support and a resource, a cheerleader, sometimes another pair of hands. Sharing in the work of the church, helping to create the beloved community, bending the arc toward justice. And if we are going to be partners in this work, you and I, trusted colleagues in the struggle for justice and peace, then we need to know each other's hearts and minds. I aim to share both with you. It is my intention to be open and honest. Now, there are some things that I'm private about, and of course, but I have learned that the best way to earn trust is to offer it. And that will always be my aim. And in general, that is my first impulse, to trust and to share what is on my mind and on my heart. And I ask the same of you. So I'll share a little bit more about me, and then I'll close with a prayer for our time together. Over the next 2 Sundays, I'll talk much less about me, more about you, and about what you can expect over these next 2 years of our shared ministry. I'm not sure yet exactly what we'll do on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. We might share worship with another congregation. That's always fun. And then on Sunday, September 13th, we will celebrate our ingathering. I will invite you in the coming weeks to take pictures, send in pictures of yourselves with water, images of what you might have shared with us in an in-person water communion service. It can be from places you've traveled or were supposed to travel or wish to travel. Let your imagination be unleashed and send me a picture and a few words about what this water that you have shared with us represents. I brought some water with me from Norfolk, Virginia, where I spent the last 2 years, and that water represents connection, memory, love. So be thinking about that, and then look for more details about that from me soon. So a bit more about me, the short version. I was raised in the Catholic Church in a town that was once called the most Irish town in America, Scituate, Massachusetts. I have joked that growing up, religious diversity for me meant St. Mary's and St. Francis, the 2 Catholic churches in town. As a child, I loved going to church. When my parents and younger brother stopped attending when I was about 10, I would go on my own. I could walk there. And I would go early and sit in the semi-dark of the church, its stained glass windows dimming the sunlight from outside. It felt magical. I loved the ritual. I loved the music. I loved being in sacred space. And then as I got a bit older, I started to listen to the words. And I discovered that I didn't actually believe most of them, the words that I was hearing and saying. So I left the church. I explored other Christian churches for a while through high school, but by that time I knew that I was gay, and I was certain that no church would welcome me as I was. So I entered a long period of being unchurched. Sadly, though. I didn't have the words then, but I longed for the experience of connecting with the holy in community. Fast forward another 20 years or so, I got involved in progressive causes, including the struggle around HIV/AIDS. My gay brothers were dying and no one seemed to care. I played music at fundraisers and rallies, and I started noticing these people from a church and their ministers, some of them women. How could this be? And they let us meet in their parish hall for our meetings. They marched with us. Their ministers blessed our sick, buried our dead, at a time when no one else would. Who were these people, I wondered. And then one Sunday I went to my first worship service, my first UU worship service, and I wept through most of it. I could hardly believe that such a place existed where I would be welcomed as I was. Now, that first service that I attended in the early 1990s was at the Arlington Street Church in Boston, a very progressive church with lots of gay people, and I had it in my head that it was just this one church that was so welcoming of us. So for quite a while, I traveled the 30 miles to Boston to attend worship. And then shortly before Christmas in 1996, Dale asked if we might go to a worship service on Christmas Eve somewhere. Dale had been reluctant to join me at worship prior to that because she had similar experiences of not feeling that she belonged in church. But we decided to check out the UU church in town, just 3 miles away instead of 30. And it was just the same open, warm welcome. We were recognized as a couple. No one asked if we were sisters or roommates. They saw us and welcomed us as we were, as we are, as kin to each other. We had just come through a rough patch in our relationship, and it is hard to convey to you just how powerful it was for us to be seen as a real family, and not to be just tolerated, but cherished. We have hardly missed a Sunday since, except for when I left to go to seminary and then became a minister. But that part of the story, my call to ministry, will have to wait until next time. So tune in again next week to hear the rest of the story. But let me say that when I finally decided to become a minister, I knew that I would be an interim minister. This is my call, interim ministry. So I'll talk a bit more about that next week, my call to interim ministry, and that will lead nicely into talking more about you and the work that awaits us over these next 2 years. I've had the pleasure of meeting a dozen or so of you so far. A couple of those meetings have been in person, but mostly they have been online or on the phone. Of course, I've met Shirley in the office, and Ben helped me get access to the church building, and I've met Glenn, your board president, and the executive team of the board. But in general, when I say meet, I mean virtually. I'd love to continue the Coffee with the Rev on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 on Zoom. I've been in the process of moving this week, moving up here to Brunswick. And so I had to put the Coffee with the Rev on hold the past few days. But I would like to start them up again as one way of us getting to know each other. For one-on-one conversations, I'm available by phone, email, Zoom, Skype, etc. 2 cups and a string, whatever works. Please be in touch. I'll be reaching out to you, and I hope you'll reach back. I want you to know that I am in touch with Sylvia. She and I have had wonderful conversations about you, about how much she loves you all, and we will be working out how and when she will reconnect with the congregation as your minister emeritus. But she's taking some time right now to process all of this and to focus on Steve, who, as you know, has some medical things coming up this month. Your pastoral care team will be reaching out to him, so please know that Sylvia and Steve are well cared for. We will be there for them. You and Sylvia have done amazing things together, and she will always be part of you. And this is just as it should be. And I thought of Sylvia and her ministry with you when I came across that piece by Elizabeth Lerner McClay about the delicious memory of being carried to bed as a child. That sense of total trust, of being held, of being safe. I know that Sylvia has held all of you for many years, and that you have held and continue to hold one another. I want you to know that my arms are ready, and I am ready to join you in that sacred and important task of holding one another in this time of uncertainty. I am honored to follow in Sylvia's footsteps and to have this chance to travel alongside of you. I look forward to seeing you in many different ways over these next 2 years.
Tiny beginnings are hid from our sight, miracle spinnings of infinite might, joined in a moment that cannot be named, filled with a power that cannot be framed. Cycles of nature and gravity's pull, moon in her orbit and time that is full, nurturing, caring, protecting our earth, learning and laboring, bringing to birth, mother and daughter and father and son, brothers and sisters and lovers as one, building community, striving to find systems to live by and structures to bind, nations and continents, cultures and ways, bordered by differences, share the same days, planets revolving from morning to night, millions of souls ride from darkness to light, orbits elliptical circle the sun, yet in the nebula we are but one, galaxy shining where time cannot trace, dwarfed by the concept of never-ending space. Tiny beginnings are hid from our sight, miracle spinnings of infinite might, joined in a moment that cannot be named, filled with a power that cannot be framed.
And now would you join me in a spirit of meditation or prayer? Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Holy One of 1,000 names and of no name. Even in this time of uncertainty, there is much for which we are grateful. Grateful to have this space waiting for us when we can return. Grateful for the ways that we have found of connecting with each other across the miles, across the distance, and in this time of COVID. That even though physical touch is now kind of off the table, we find ways to stay connected. That is a good thing, and we aim to continue it. May this congregation know the continued blessing of community and all the ways that we can experience that and create that together. And may we continue to work out in the larger world, fighting for justice, struggling for peace. And may we find joy in the struggle. And may we be reminded that we need not struggle alone. I'll leave you with a bit of this song by Cindy Callett. My heart is ready. My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My feet are ready. My feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? My feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? My feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? Blessings to you. We will figure it out together. I can't wait.